everyone, before the video begins, I want to let you all know about my new Patreon. This is where my Jewel Riders video will stay while I try to get it back up here on YouTube. But I also have exclusive perks for you all, including early access to videos, input on future videos, exclusive live streams, and shoutouts at the end of each video. By becoming a member on Patreon, you're not only helping me, you're helping those affected by Hurricane Helene, and kitties who are blind, RF5E positive, or have other illnesses that would make them unadoptable. I have 3 tiers to choose from, so pick which one is best for you, and join the fun! Okay, that's all I have to say. Roll the intro! Natsumi Ando. Where have I heard that name before? Yes, today I'm talking about another Natsumi Ando work called Arisa. And I think this one is perfect for spooky season, because it's not the type of story you'd think of when imagining shoujo. I think shoujo often gets labeled as just romance or magical girls, but shoujo is just a demographic name. It means for girls, and while romance and magical girls are popular among the target audience, that's not all they want. 2008's Arisa is a psychological drama and mystery published in Nakayoshi. It lasted until 2012, has a total of 48 chapters, and is just as wild as Kitchen Princess, but with a darker tone. Arisa has bullying, neglect, child abuse, arson, attempted murder, and it's all connected to a student-led cult. But shoujo is just wholesome romance, right?
Wrong!
Needless to say, there will be spoilers, but I am so excited to share with you all the insanity that is Arisa. Tsubasa Urahara is a unique protagonist. She's chaotic good, with delinquent mannerisms but a heart of gold. As she complains about the way others perceive her, Tsubasa's friend snatches a picture of her twin sister Arisa, who is the total opposite of Tsubasa. Unfortunately, the two have been separated since their parents' divorce. Arisa lives with mom and Tsubasa lives with dad. Somewhat of a parent trap situation. Side note, how do parents do that? That's like picking a favorite kid. I feel like that would have a horrible psychological effect on a child. Anyway, after 3 years, the girls finally reunite. Even though years have passed, the two connect in an instant. The two decide to have a sleepover, and for a brief moment, there's a sadness in Arisa's eyes as Tsubasa brags about how proud she is of her sister and her amazing life, which leads Arisa to suggest that Tsubasa should pretend to be her for the day. A typical twin swap. What could possibly go wrong? Tsubasa is excited, just wanting to know more about the sister she's missed for so long. Disguised as Arisa, Tsubasa gets to experience what it's like to have a girl bestie, a popular boyfriend, and a boy jumping through the window. Even the bad boys like Arisa. Her life is truly wonderful. Or so we think. Those eyes are terrifying! Tsubasa sees that there's a letter in Arisa's locker, but doesn't open it. Happy to be home, she tells Arisa about her day and how wonderful it was, but something's off. As the happy Tsubasa goes on and on about how lucky her sister is, Arisa finds herself at the edge of her window, telling Tsubasa, "You're so carefree. I bet you've never thought what it would be like to disappear from this world." Tsubasa is shocked at first, but doesn't seem to take the hint. She continues to tell Arisa how wonderful she is and how great her life is. But Arisa seemingly denies this. According to her, there's more to her classmates and herself than Tsubasa knows. Tsubasa drops the note. Arisa apologizes to her sister and attempts to take her life. On the last page, we get to read the note addressed to her. It says, "Arisa Sonata is a traitor." That's a lot for a first chapter, but it's a very interesting setup. What was Arisa talking about when mentioning their secrets? What is her secret? Why would she want to take her own life? And in front of her own sister that she hasn't seen in years? Why did she want Tsubasa to go to school in her place? What will Tsubasa do now? Let's find out. With her sister in a coma, Tsubasa goes to the police, but they won't do anything.
Hey, put the donuts down! Drop the Krispy Kreme, Serpico! We need your help
These people
here!
in my house look like my father and my brother after 9 months or something.
Yeah, boogity, diggity, 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 diggity.
Her friend Takaru steps in. worried about her after all that's happened. Tsubasa is heartbroken that she couldn't protect her sister, and Takeru comforts her, saying that even families that live together don't know every little thing about each other. It's not her fault for not knowing about Arisa's pain. Wanting to understand why her sister felt the need to attempt suicide, Tsubasa goes undercover as her twin sister to investigate. When she arrives at school, Tsubasa is greeted by a class full of friendly peers excited for her to be alive. Huh? Everything seems normal until 4th period. Mariko and the other students are scarily excited for something known as King Time. All of the students have their phones out, chanting King, as they frantically type in their wishes. Tsubasa types something simple: I wish tomorrow will be sunny. But the wish that's picked is a lot more concerning. Fast forward to gym class and we get to meet Todoroki-sensei. He's a total creep, walking in while the girls are changing, getting handsy during stretches, and when he smacks Tsubasa, her facade vanishes, taking that pervert down as she should. Her classmates are taken aback, but Mariko reminds Tsubasa not to get upset, because the king will take care of that creep. He saved their class. He's all-powerful. He is their god. That's not terrifying at all. Late that night, Todoroki gets an unwanted visitor, and while we can't tell exactly what happens when he enters, it doesn't sound good. Tsubasa tells Takeru about this king business. She can't stop thinking about it, even though she tells herself it has nothing to do with Arisa. However, someone does come to her mind. Bad boy Akira Manabe. The next day, Tsubasa arrives at school, once again disguised as Arisa. Akira is asleep, so she can't get anything out of him quite yet. But gasp! Todoroki-sensei is absent! No one has heard from him since yesterday, and all of his belongings have vanished, almost as if he just disappeared. The king has granted yet another wish. The students celebrate, but one girl is bold enough to question the king's ways, which leads to this reaction. The girl, named Shiori, laughs off her question as a joke, but Mariko warns Tsubasa not to hang around her, or the king might come for her next. Tsubasa calls Takeru about the Todoroki incident, but before she can leave, Shiori stops to chat. She seems like a sweet person, but unfortunately she's greeted with the same card Arisa was. All of the class slowly makes their way downstairs, singing the graduation song that one of the kids also started singing when finding out about Todoroki's disappearance. Tsubasa tells them to stop, and as she runs upstairs, Akira jumps in with a stick. But for real, I think he tried to kill her. Tsubasa fought Akira but ended up passing out. When she wakes up, Midori is there to greet her, and he tells her the story of the king. The Class 2B forum was just a typical site until someone known as King made a post saying that they could solve any problems and to confide in them. Everyone laughed, but Mariko decided to test it out, asking to ace the next test. She received the answers, got a perfect score, and no one has doubted the king since. That's how King Time started, but it's only gotten more intense as anyone who is thought to be a traitor or doubts the king gets punished. Midori says he's worried about who he thinks is Arisa, but Tsubasa quickly slides out of the boyfriend-level closeness and dashes off to meet Takeru at Todoroki-sensei's place. The two get to his door and it seems like no one is home, but out of the corner of her eye, Tsubasa spots Akira! Why is he here? She goes after him, but is unable to catch up. The next day, Tsubasa walks into Class 2B to discover trash covering Shiori's desk. She is being punished for questioning the king. Tsubasa stands up for the girl, but this madness has already gone to her head. Just like Arisa, Shiori goes to jump out the window. But surprise! Akira catches her! It turns out he actually wants to destroy the king, and Tsubasa immediately tells him that she also thinks the king is horrible. Akira then tells her that he knows who the king is, and he asks her to meet him privately. Detective best friend Takeru finds Akira's place and does some investigating, discovering the same Arisa Sonata is a traitor note that Tsubasa found earlier in the story. Tsubasa's in danger! Takeru calls her, and Akira admits that he's been the one leaving the cards. Is Akira really the king? He gets uncomfortably close to Tsubasa, but luckily Midori interrupts and she rushes off to Akira's house to meet Takeru. Tsubasa thinks that Arisa received a traitor card because she stood up to the king, but there's not enough proof to come to any conclusion yet. She needs to investigate more. Once again, it's king time, and today's granted wish is the simple request to cancel field day. However, something innocent has quickly become questionable, as the king sends out a group text that says, if someone gets injured during practice, field day will definitely be canceled. So if you want to get it called off, someone at the school must get hurt. Tsubasa fights against this wish, vowing to protect everyone. Unfortunately, she can't, and it's their teacher that gets hurt. Tsubasa tries to confront Akira, but he spins the accusation on her and questions if Arisa is the king. A messy end to chapter 5. According to Akira, Arisa has a secret, but a little backstory first. Akira stopped coming to school because he's a rebellious boy, and Arisa visited him every day. She brought him snacks, class notes, field trip forms, and even pictures of everyone in class. Akira says that there's no way someone as cheerful as her could have any worries or secrets, but she challenges that notion and invites him to attend class on Friday. Back then, king time seemed innocent. Arisa was granting simple wishes like finding a lost umbrella, but it soon spiraled into something sinister. Tsubasa doesn't believe Akira, and does some investigating of her own. Looking through Arisa's room, she finds a locked folder on her laptop. The password is King, and it contains all of the wishes she has granted. Tsubasa can't believe it, but from what we can see, all of the wishes look innocent. Changing seats and making up with a friend aren't problematic, and surely didn't involve any violent consequences, right? Cut to school. Mariko and Midori have a brief conversation about Arisa's weird behavior. He seems to trust her, but Mariko is suspicious, breaking off her matching best friend's cell phone charm. At king time, which Tsubasa skips, Mariko wishes for the real Arisa to return. She's whisked away from her hospital bed and brought to school, so now her sister must find her. But Arisa is actually returned rather quickly, with a note addressed to Tsubasa. Her identity has been found out by the king, and this is her only warning to stop investigating before the one she loves most gets hurt. Being the evil little thing she is, Mariko gives Tsubasa poisoned cookies and shoves her in a pool to drown. Luckily, Akira is there to save her, and he too discovers her secret. Tsubasa tells him everything, and while he's shocked, he doesn't reveal her secret. Mariko, however, has become more unhinged. King time has changed, only allowing 5 people to enter per week, which sends the class into a zombie-like rage, attacking Tsubasa because she doesn't believe, and they want an extra chance to get their wishes granted. Defending her, Akira gets injured, and the two run off to the nurse's office. Akira decides to give Tsubasa his king time password for the next game, and the two agree to team up and find out who the new king is. We are only 8 chapters in, and I am so excited to read the rest of the story. In chapter 9, we get further evidence that Mariko was the one to push Tsubasa into the pool, and we get to know a little more about her. Evidently, at her previous school, her classmates were not kind to her, treating her like she was invisible. Arisa seemed to have been her only real friend, so it makes sense why she's fighting so hard to get the real one back, even if king time has made her a bit immoral with the way she's handling the situation. She's also picked for king time, and while the other students who weren't picked are begging for her wish slot, she threatens to have them killed by the king. Girl is having a power trip because she can have a wish granted. Be so for real right now. Anyway, Tsubasa confronts Mariko about the matching charm left by the pool, and she questions her relationship to the king, which causes Mariko to run away. When Tsubasa catches up to her, Mariko gives a little speech about how she and Arisa were best friends, but Midori came between them, and she felt neglected. So Mariko decides if she can't have the Arisa she wants, she doesn't want Arisa to exist at all. I respect the dramatics, but doesn't she know that she's talking to Tsubasa? Doesn't she know that the real Arisa is still in a coma? The questioning about the pool should imply to Mariko that she didn't kill Tsubasa. But the other problems she has with Arisa are directed at the real Arisa. Tsubasa has barely had any time with Midori. She's spent more time with Akira if we're going to single out anyone from the class. Evidently, I'm not the only one who thinks she's a moron, because the king steps in, calls her an idiot, and implies that she will disappear. Whoa, that's a bit much. This final page is so good. The planets and the king being a shadowy figure just hits. I love it. The king tries to kill her with a falling mirror, but Tsubasa and Akira protect her. The king they saw was just a reflection. But what's odd is that the moment this creepy imagery ends, Midori pops in.
That's suspicious.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's weird.
Back to Mariko. Everyone has already forgotten her. She is no longer necessary to the king. Deciding to transfer schools, Mariko is confronted by Tsubasa. Leading her to the rooftop, Mariko reflects on her childhood memories. She always felt invisible until Arisa, but now that's gone too. So why should she bother holding on to anything resembling her impossible dream to be someone's favorite person? I don't like that I relate to that. Tsubasa stops her and in Arisa's place, tells Mariko that she will never forget her and that the two will always be friends. Mariko apologizes for everything and tells Tsubasa that the king is one of the chosen 5 to make a wish. She begs Tsubasa not to let the king win. Meanwhile, Akira runs into Midori, figuring out that he is one of the chosen 5. Interesting. Their plan to track down everyone who has a number fails, as King Time ends up being cancelled. Every chosen person has to make a wish, or no one will get what they wished for. Midori, not making a wish, says that he's fine with King Time getting cancelled forever in order to stop the class from fighting each other. He's noble up front, but Akira doesn't trust him. Tsubasa can't bring herself to believe that Midori is the king. She decides to go on a date with him in her Arisa disguise to see if Midori is truly the king. Saturday arrives and the two spend the day at the amusement park. Tsubasa's wig is incredible. That thing should be flying off. Midori seems like the dream boyfriend. How in the world could he be the king? He's just a sweet guy who loves his girlfriend. It can't be him. Cut to a 2B classmate in the infirmary complaining about the lack of king time. A shadowy figure appears and tells the boy to steal Midori's phone in exchange for a wish.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
This guy is Rei Kudo. He's a transfer student, and Tsubasa is tasked with showing him around the school. She shows Rei all of the basic places he needs to remember, but he'd rather go to the roof. He says it's his favorite place because it's the closest place to heaven, and then acts like he's going to jump? Are any of these kids okay? Rei actually doesn't have long to live. He had heart surgery when he was young and is still weak. He doesn't elaborate further, but he's definitely in poor health. Tsubasa does her best to cheer him up, but I don't think this will have the impact she wants it to. Back to the boy, he can't find Midori's phone and returns to Rei empty-handed. Rei uses the boy's crush to motivate him further. He has something against Arisa. But what? Also, wouldn't the nurse see these darts everywhere? Am I the only one thinking about this? In the next chapter, Tsubasa steals Midori's phone after he reveals his hiding spot to her. As she's typing a wish to meet the king, she's attacked, and the boy steals Midori's phone. But weirdly enough, Rei is there to rescue Tsubasa. Did he have a connection to Arisa before this? When Tsubasa wakes up, Rei is there to greet her. Yuya Osawa still has Midori's phone. Rei and Tsubasa talk briefly about their differing opinions on love before she runs to find Yuya. Yes, he stole Midori's phone to get his wish, but he changes his mind as Asai runs to some boys in her class for protection, and Yuya is portrayed as a stalker. Bro cannot cope nor take the hint, so he wishes for Asai not to judge people by their looks. How is this wish granted? By making her go blind. Tsubasa goes off, and Akira calms her down, although Midori sees her facade fall. Yuya meets with Rei again, and is really happy until Rei declares that he's no longer needed. They're both terrible, but Yuya deserves that. He should have respected that girl's boundaries, even if what she said was hurtful. Anyway, Midori is feeling jealous of the amount of time he thinks Arisa and Akira are spending together, but Tsubasa doesn't want Arisa's seemingly perfect boyfriend to get involved with this mess any more than he has. With Midori's distrust, Asai's injury, and Arisa's refusal to wake up, Tsubasa leaves school feeling defeated. Can they really catch the king? How many people are going to get hurt because of their investigation? It's an awful situation. Before she delves too far into her misery, Tsubasa receives a call from Arisa's homeroom teacher. Asai will regain her sight. With newfound courage, Tsubasa is ready to continue her search. They need to find who has the other 2 numbers, because the king totally isn't the person who is always conveniently around when the king appears or is mentioned. That's my theory and I'm sticking to it. Akira thinks he can pull the data from the king's message to track him down, which is a really good idea. Asking her to grab a cable, Tsubasa happily does so. And Akira traps her in his closet. Escaping and running after that traitor, she tackles him, knocking another phone out of his hand. When Tsubasa questions him, he shoves her on the train. Akira! Why? When he gets back home, he gives the phone back to a girl in their class named Shizuka Mochizuki. She hasn't been to class in months, but will come back for the school trip to watch her wish come true. She wants to get revenge on Arisa. In the next chapter, Tsubasa finds Akira's real address, but finds herself in trouble when she has to sneak in. Shizuka actually helps her, in exchange for some time together before she sees Akira. Tsubasa agrees, and the two actually get along really well. She opens up to Tsubasa, and tells her that she was mercilessly bullied by a girl at school. She tried to take her own life, and lost her ability to walk. When Tsubasa's glasses fall off, Shizuka panics, and tries to stab Tsubasa's eyes out with a pair of scissors. Why is everyone so violent? Luckily, Akira is there just in time to stop her. Throwing her out of the house, Shizuka feels bad for her behavior, but not enough to stop her revenge plans. The day of the school trip arrives, and she's there with the 3 chosen phones, waiting to cause trouble. That is how Chapter 16 and Volume 4 ends. Whew. Just in case you need a recap, Arisa is the sister in a coma who used to be the king. Tsubasa is our protagonist who is headstrong and still investigating because she loves her sister unconditionally. Takeru is her bestie who has occasionally helped throughout the investigation. Akira is a traitor who is connected to the newly introduced Shizuka, who was possibly bullied by Arisa, but I think the new king is the one who caused her problems. Maybe. Rei is the transfer student who was close to the king or might be the king himself, although I think he's too obvious to pick. But we know he can do some damage. This guy is really unstable physically and mentally. Mariko, who had a chosen number, transferred schools. She's no longer in the picture. Lastly, Midori is Arisa's boyfriend, and while he doesn't have a number anymore, he plays a little too dumb. I hope he's a good guy, but I kind of doubt it. Even if he had a great date with Tsubasa earlier in the story. Those are all the people you need to worry about. Let's continue with Chapter 17. Shizuka is already causing trouble for Tsubasa. Great! Akira pulls Tsubasa aside and despite not wanting to get her involved any further, tells her why Shizuka has such an intense hatred for Arisa. Shizuka was the first victim of the king, and even if the king at that time wasn't Arisa, she's so blindsided by hate that she'll do anything to destroy her. With Midori still mad at her, and Shizuka being a pain, Tsubasa continues her search for the phones. However, when king time arrives, Shizuka has already made her wish, for Arisa to lose something precious. Tsubasa's mind immediately goes to Midori, but he isn't the one that will be hurt. Tsubasa is. Why is Akira going along with this? In the next chapter, the class notices Arisa's absence, and Midori says he'll look for her. It's Akira who ends up finding Tsubasa. The king is after her, not Midori. Once again, a shadowy figure strikes, this time injuring Akira. The two actually have a sweet moment together before Akira realizes that Tsubasa has a fever, and he carries her to safety. While she is safe, everyone thinks she's messing around with Akira and leading Midori on. Something precious was taken from Arisa, her reputation. Tsubasa stands up to Shizuka, saying that her reputation isn't important, but her friends are.
I used to wonder what friendship could be, until you all shared its magic with me.
She doesn't believe that Akira is a bad person. He must have had a reason for betraying her. Shizuka and Akira have a lot of history. The two became friends when they were young. He witnessed the death of her father, and he promised to always stand by her. She was always a cheerful person until she became obsessed with being better than Arisa. Her jealousy drove her to madness, but when she unknowingly makes the wrong move by bad-mouthing the king, she's given the first ever traitor card, and was bullied into a suicide attempt. Akira feels guilty for ignoring her message, and giving that time to Arisa instead. so now he does anything Shizuka wants. He obeys her out of guilt. Back at school, everyone hates Arisa, but Tsubasa decides that she can get closer to Shizuka as herself. At first she tries to spy, but ends up getting caught after telling a bunch of guys off for taking up the handicap spot. Shizuka is happy to see Tsubasa, and apologizes for the stabbing incident. Tsubasa asks about Akira, and Shizuka says that she doesn't need him anymore. She has a stronger friend now. We get a brief glimpse of her home life as Tsubasa attempts to snoop around, and it's not good. She's despised and yelled at for things out of her control, like getting sick. Tsubasa doesn't end up stealing the phones, as she needs more than that. Instead, she knocks Shizuka out. That's how Volume 5 ends! Girlie is not playing around anymore. Luckily, while unethical, Tsubasa did that for a good reason. She brings Shizuka to a barbecue party with her friends. Although a cheesy idea to do a friendship is magic style redemption, Tsubasa makes progress after getting injured in Shizuka's place. But then the king once again ropes her in, exposing Tsubasa's secret. I did kind of want Shizuka to become nice, but that would have been too easy. Every shoujo needs maximum drama. And after trashing her house, Shizuka makes a wish to erase Arisa Sonata from this world. She pleads with Shizuka for just a moment before rushing off to protect her sister. Akira follows shortly after. He apologizes to Tsubasa and promises to catch the king with her for real this time. Then Shizuka comes in, still insisting she knows Arisa's secret, and that the king is her only friend. But, gasp! Another wish is granted before hers. One to get rid of the person with the 3 phones. Someone, who seems like Rei, wants Shizuka gone. Akira vows to protect Shizuka once more, takes the phones, and debates on throwing them away. But he doesn't have much time to think, because the minute he steps outside of the hospital, he's hit by a car! If I had a nickel for every Natsumi Ando manga I've made a video about containing a truck hit,
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
unlike in Kitchen Princess, it doesn't look like Akira died. No random death halfway through the story. Shizuka is now truly sorry for what she's done, and Tsubasa is more determined than ever to catch the king. However, when Tsubasa goes to see Shizuka by herself, she learns that she's going to an orphanage. Running off with her, Tsubasa tries again to convince Shizuka that her sister isn't a bad person, and in return, Shizuka gives Tsubasa the secret she was talking about. While she might not believe Tsubasa, she seems open to a friendship. I want them to be friends! The URL goes to a site called Arisa's Room. It's a chat room with Arisa and Kei. So, the new king? Kei is the one who came up with King Time. They're the one who made King Time the way it is now. Tsubasa decides to type something in the chat and surprise! Kei answers almost immediately. There is a bonus chapter that gives us a little more time with younger Arisa and Tsubasa. It's great at showcasing their personalities and how they each handled their parents' divorce. It's cute, but also sad and a little concerning. That is where Volume 6 ends, and wow! Arisa has some super intense moments, but there's still a lot more to cover. Let's take a commercial break before continuing this wild story. Welcome to my new magical shoutout section where I highlight adorable channels who deserve your attention. Today's shoutout goes to Cake of the Muse. She has a super cute avatar for you orange magical girl lovers, and I really enjoyed her video about magical girl Dandelion. Give her channel some love.
今月の姫ちゃんもすっごい6月号の付録はめちゃキラビューティーミラー使いやすいビッグサイズきらめくおまじない付きキュートでゴージャス姫キラ鉛筆タイプシャンペンもギザキラ本物そっくりコミックスノートもあるよ応募者全員サービスはホワイトボードと収納ボックスの超役立ちインテリアセット新年祭にプレゼントも大充実超6月号もうすぐ発売じゃーんチュチュ毎月14日頃発売
Welcome back! Chapter 24 continues with Kei's response, and he wants to meet in person, but won't disclose an exact location. It's somewhere only the real Arisa would know. In order to investigate, she needs to get close to Midori again, but he's still upset with her. Eventually, he softens up and tells Tsubasa the location she needs. They went to an art museum together. So cute! As the two walk home together, Rei is seen spying on the two. But the big reveal is that Midori is Kei! Just kidding. He says it's Rei and plays innocent. I don't trust you. Tsubasa runs after Rei, who has stolen all the phones. Rei is declared the king's representative, and he uses that power to ask everyone to make Class 2B the best class in the world. Whatever that means. Rei doesn't have long to live, and he wants his dream to come true fast, and everyone has to participate, or else. Rei works the class to no end, and even makes them run into a burning building he set on fire to save someone.
Huh?
Bro set up a potential tragedy? That man could have died? The students could have died? This time, Midori is the one to stand up to Rei, saying he'll take him to the cops if he sets up another dangerous situation for clout. Bro should say this to certain YouTubers. Tsubasa confronts Midori about this, not wanting him to get hurt. But it seems that Midori's priority is still Arisa. Aww, I hope you're not terrible. Continuing into Volume 8, the whole class is in danger as long as they're under Rei's control. Tsubasa and Akira need to stop him and find the king, because I don't think he's the king. This time, Rei wants the class to catch a criminal who's on the run. Tsubasa protests, but Rei reveals that he has hurt Midori.
Oh no.
Now Tsubasa has to choose between him or the entire class's safety. And the entire class is just okay with this, okay? She chooses Midori, leaving to save him while the rest of the class goes on this dangerous criminal chase. Midori's suspiciously fine, and the two race to the warehouse where the rest of the students are. But when they arrive, the criminal they were supposed to catch has been killed! With a cold look, Midori tells the class that they aren't heroes, but instead are murderers. Can you tell that the story is losing me a bit with the dramatics? Rei passes out, panicking as he says he did all of this for Arisa.
You what?
Tsubasa tries to call for help, but that'll get the class in trouble because there's a dead body. So while she runs to find help, Midori suggests that the class should ask the king for help disposing of any evidence that could get the kids in trouble. By the time Tsubasa comes back, the body is gone, and Midori tells Tsubasa to forget everything she saw today. Running back to Akira, the two do some more snooping on Arisa's chat with Kei, and decide that Kei is Rei, but he's not the king. These two do have some sort of special connection though. In order to save Arisa, Rei must make Class 2B perfect for her. The only other option is to kill Tsubasa. Those are the only two options Midori presents to Rei, who he calls king. But I think this is in a twisted joke sort of way. My bets are still on Midori, not Rei. Anyway, Midori takes the best class challenge, while Rei is told to get rid of Tsubasa. She knows Rei isn't the king, and she's worried about his declining health. But instead of listening to Tsubasa, he tries to choke her. Surprisingly, the class stops him. They've been tricked enough by Rei and want nothing to do with him anymore. In retaliation, Rei finally exposes Tsubasa's real identity to everyone. Midori plays up his innocent act, but it turns out that Arisa might have negative feelings towards her sister, believing her mother loves Tsubasa more. The class attacks Tsubasa. She falls down the stairs and is left defenseless. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the real Arisa is getting worse. Locked in the warehouse basement, left to die, Tsubasa tries to find a way out. There's a little window with bars that she uses to talk to Midori, who lies to her face about helping her escape. Bro wants her dead. He calls up Rei and is like, you need to kill her or Arisa will die. And guess what? He goes to that warehouse basement and tries to stab her, ranting about Arisa's declining health as he does so. Tsubasa doesn't believe that she's the reason why Arisa would try to take her own life. Twins have a special bond. Her sister can't be afraid of her, right? Escaping and running to the hospital, to Midori's dismay, Tsubasa rushes into Arisa's hospital room and tells her to please wake up. They're supposed to be together forever. This can't continue any longer. And finally, Arisa opens her eyes. It took 8 volumes to get here! Tsubasa is thrilled to have her sister back. But wait, she has amnesia. Because of course she does. She doesn't remember her sister, being class president, or anything about the king. Akira is frustrated with the situation, but Tsubasa tells him to have some patience. She'll get her memory back soon. In the meantime, Tsubasa spends time being a caring sister. Rei confronts Midori about his lie that Arisa wouldn't wake up while Tsubasa was alive. Midori is shocked to hear that Arisa woke up. But when Rei says he'll ask Arisa for the truth, Midori hits him over the head with a vase. Look at all that blood! And he licks the blood! Ew! With Arisa now awake, Midori decides to speed up his plan. He calls up Tsubasa, who still trusts him, despite the fact that everything about this guy has been suspicious for almost the whole story. Anyway, he wants to meet with Tsubasa in person, and she leaves her sister. But guess what? He went to see Arisa instead, telling her to stop faking amnesia, that the plan is going well, and he gives her a present. However, she doesn't seem thrilled to receive anything from Midori. Putting on his good boy persona, Midori meets with Tsubasa and acts like he doesn't know a single thing. He even says he's impressed with Tsubasa's efforts to help her sister, and she's developing feelings. Oh no, girl, stop! Arisa returns to Class 2B, who is preparing to attend a prestigious international party for Christmas. So they're even more worried about keeping the dead body thing a secret. Admitting to the class that she was the original king, she takes the place as representative. Both Akira and Tsubasa try to talk her out of this, but Arisa is firm in her decision. She hates her sister, and she's now a pawn of the new king. Absolutely heartbroken, she runs from the brainwashed class chasing her down. But you know who saves her? Midori! My dog's barking. He comes up with this whole sob story about how Arisa was so mean to him after waking up, and tells Tsubasa that he'll help her catch the king, who she still thinks is Rei. Bro really wants to make life his biggest acting challenge, and I'm tired of it! Arisa wants to get rid of Akira next, because he potentially has feelings for Tsubasa. But before we can process that, Midori and Tsubasa investigate Rei's house, and there's a room with a bunch of clocks in it, and that clown doll from earlier. Creepy! Midori is super flirty during this time, telling Tsubasa that she's the person he wants to protect most.
You dirty little liar.
He kisses her, drugs her, and chains her up to one of the clocks. I'd have to be high to make this up. When she wakes up, he's like, wow, that was such a great performance I put on. But I'm over this shoujo manga crap. Like, dude is psychotic. He finally spells it out to Tsubasa that he's the king.
I mean, duh!
And now it's time for him to grant Arisa's wish. Confessing to the crimes that happened in the story so far, Midori plans to take Tsubasa as his next victim. At king time, a bomb will go off. Things are looking bleak for our lead girl. Luckily for her, Rei comes to set her free, still enraged over his betrayal. Despite everything, Rei still adores Arisa. She gave him happiness, and he was willing to do anything for her. That's how Rei ended up in this mess. Tsubasa escapes and meets with Arisa once more, telling Tsubasa not to come near her anymore. She ignores her sister's request and tells her to see Rei. She says she doesn't remember anything and shoves Tsubasa out of the classroom. Tsubasa goes to the hospital and apologizes to Rei, saying she couldn't make his dying wish come true. But lying little Arisa shows up and is possibly going to kill him? That's an insane page to end chapter 36 with, oh my gosh! Akira finds Tsubasa and tells her that Arisa is visiting Rei. It's odd because she's really sweet to him until Tsubasa walks in. Her eyes darken as she calls Rei a nuisance. He apologizes to Arisa. And again, her facade fades as Tsubasa hugs her. Finally, Arisa will open up about this entire situation. Arisa was the original king and her wishes were innocent, until she heard Mariko and some other students say they were bored with the safe wishes. So Arisa, who already had insecurities of being boring because of her mother, decides to grant a more risky wish. For Mariko, she steals the answer sheet for the next class test. She's almost caught, but Midori is the one to help her out by distracting their teacher. He's kind to Arisa, but even so, she wants to return the test answers. Midori says he'll handle it, but instead of returning the stolen answers, he sends them to Mariko as the king. Now he has taken over Arisa's secret, and as we know, turns it into something more sinister. Arisa recalls the moment where she knew Midori was a truly evil person. She was sad that her mother would be away for her birthday, so she wants Midori to spend the day with her. Simple enough. But you know what this guy does? He pushes Arisa's mom down the staircase at the train station. Her injuries keep her from traveling on Arisa's birthday, but was that necessary?
No.
Confronting Midori about this horrible act, he tries to spin it as a good thing. He granted the Wishmaker's wish. Arisa had problems with her mom anyway, so what's the big deal? Arisa tries to express that this isn't what she wanted, and he calls her out for being a pathetic people pleaser. Girl, I've been there, don't judge. But Midori is straight up insane. Boy has crazy eyes. Arisa tells Midori off, but not in the way she should have. She says she isn't alone like him, but I don't know, I would have gone with, I'm not a violent clown like you. But what do I know? Anyway, after that moment, Arisa fully stopped being the king. She was too afraid to confront him despite all of the awful things Midori was doing. As a last resort, she contacted Tsubasa and set up her "let Tsubasa go to school instead of me" plan. Arisa apologizes to Tsubasa for getting her involved, but her sister hasn't given up yet. Tsubasa wants to stop the king once and for all, with her sister by her side. Although Arisa continues to follow Midori, she slips a piece of paper to Tsubasa before she leaves. Also, Midori, I'm kindly asking you to never make that face again. In the next chapter, Tsubasa returns to her old school, although she's unable to stop thinking about the situation at hand. The note Arisa slipped to Tsubasa was one Midori wrote for her. He says he's sorry for causing her so much pain, and that he'll stop once he finds his mother, who will most likely be at the summit on Christmas. After he reconnects with her, he'll pay for his crimes. At first, Tsubasa claims there's nothing left for her to do, and tries to go back to her normal life. But soon she realizes that there's more to Midori's search than they realize. There's no way he'd so passively give up his king status, right? With Akira helping by distracting Midori, Tsubasa visits the orphanage where Midori grew up. Making friends with the kids, Tsubasa meets the orphanage director, who is happy to tell her anything she'd like to know about Midori. It turns out that he was also a twin. They look so cute! Unfortunately, Midori's twin died when he was 3. Midori's mother was neglectful, leaving her little boys for days in a dark, garbage-filled room. Soon she abandoned her children. They had no food or water, and Akari became ill. Midori attempted to find someone to save his brother, but in the end, he watched the only person who truly loved him die before his eyes.
That's rough, buddy.
Do the moms in Arisa just suck? Not a single good mom in this place? If the moms were just good mothers, the king would not have existed. Tsubasa and Arisa would have been able to stay closer. Midori wouldn't have had to watch his brother die. If you're a mom or plan to be a mom, read Arisa as your reminder of what not to do, because this is crazy. None of this would have happened if the moms were good people. Anyway, Midori doesn't want to see his mother to catch up. He wants revenge. I kinda don't blame him, but morally it still isn't the right thing to do. Messy. Midori is a broken boy who needs serious help. In Chapter 41, the International Summit is here. Class 2B will be attending as planned. Tsubasa meets with Arisa to tell her about her discovery, but Arisa tells her to leave, saying it's none of her business. However, Tsubasa can tell that Arisa is just lying to keep her sister out of harm's way. Trapping Arisa, Tsubasa goes in her place. Surprisingly, their mom is at the summit. She's doing something right. Unfortunately, Midori recognizes her immediately. Tsubasa tries to reason with him, saying that revenge isn't what his brother would want. But no, his plans are bigger than just hurting his mom. He wants to hurt everyone. One more volume to get through. Can you believe it? Before we reach the finale, there is a bonus story with Mariko and a teacher. It's weird and I don't want to talk about it, but I knew I had to at least mention it. Let's get back on track. So Tsubasa runs away with what she thinks is a bomb, but no. Midori just wants to kill Arisa and Tsubasa's mom. Tsubasa yells at her mom to run, and the crowd looks at her with dismay. But it's Arisa that stops the clown bomb from going off. Midori wasn't going after his mother to begin with because she was already dead?
What a twist!
Midori's motive was to treat Arisa as a replacement for the twin he lost. Oh, sweet Jesus, get this boy some therapy. Finally getting arrested, Arisa and Tsubasa's stupid mom makes a comment about Midori, which sets him off and he runs at her with a knife. But Arisa protects her. Midori has stabbed the only living person he claimed to cherish. She's rushed to the hospital and the class is questioned about their involvement with Midori and the King business. But they're legally in the clear. The only illegal act, the committed murder, didn't actually happen, and the criminal faked his death in exchange for a place to live. Honestly, with the housing market, that's not a terrible idea. I'm joking. I am so joking about that. Midori somehow gets to see Arisa and tries to kill her again. But surprise! It's actually Tsubasa. He pulls out his knife again, but now there are guns pointed at him. He's about to spend the rest of his life in jail. Pointing the knife at himself, he tells Tsubasa that there's nothing left in this world for him now that he's hurt Arisa. But then she rushes in and tells him that while what he did was wrong, she still loves him and wants to be with him forever. Are you serious? He tried to kill your sister and your mom. Arisa's lack of sense doesn't matter because Midori gets stabbed by this little freak. Y'all remember the boy who caused a girl from a different class to almost go blind? Yeah. He got his revenge. Unfortunately, Midori doesn't die, meaning he and Arisa will stay together. Great. Tsubasa visits him in jail, and they have the best interaction. She's like, I thought you were going to die. And he says, I'm sorry I failed to meet your expectations. He's got jokes. I might like him now. Tsubasa tells him that she and Arisa visited his brother's grave. Tsubasa will never truly forgive him, and Arisa, despite all common sense, wants to wait for him. It seems that Midori will have a second chance at happiness. But you can't fix crazy in a day. Update on Midori's victims throughout his time as king. Shizuka is doing well in rehab. Rei recently had surgery, and I assume Mariko is fine as well. Tsubasa returns to Arisa and her mother. It seems like the family is trying to heal. That being said, Arisa has one last wish to grant. Tsubasa's. The girls will now be the closest twins in the world. That would be really sweet if there weren't so many crimes committed in this story. Arisa seriously wants to stay with Midori even though she spent most of the story fearing him? Like, I understand that he has a super tragic backstory, and I hope he changes for the better. But if I were her, I'd let that man heal from a distance. Like, as in another country distance if possible. He tried to kill your family and tortured your classmates. Does Arisa know that her best friend transferred schools? Also, better late than never for the mom to attempt to be a better parent. But again, this whole story wouldn't have happened if the moms in the story were decent parents. Possibly the dads too? Tsubasa and Arisa's dad seems great, but I'm assuming Midori's dad went to get milk or died. That might have been mentioned somewhere, but I don't remember. This video has been one heck of a project. Arisa ends with one final bonus chapter. It's an Uno reverse. So now Arisa disguises herself as Tsubasa and has to navigate her life. It's so fun seeing sweet little Arisa be terrified of Tsubasa's friends, but she learns that they have great hearts. I have no complaints with this chapter. It's precious and the total opposite of Tsubasa's experience. Arisa is no doubt a fun read. It's unhinged, has some great shock moments, but as the story progresses it has more ridiculous moments than I'd like. I thought Midori's backstory gave him some well-needed depth, but I think the story was too easy on him. What he went through was awful, but what he did deserved more punishment than what he got. Arisa needs to run away from this guy. If she can grow a backbone and try to reverse her indirect wrongdoings, she can find herself a more mentally stable man. If anything, the relationship I wanted more of was Tsubasa and Akira. I feel like Akira was barely relevant towards the end of the story, only having a handful of moments to remind us he's a main character. I like him a lot. He, Tsubasa, and Shizuka are the characters I like the most. I wish I could see these characters interact maybe a few months or a year after the story ended. If you like shoujo manga but want more unhinged drama rather than cutesy romance and friendship, give Arisa a try. I don't think it's a perfect story, but it's such a fun read. I audibly gasped a couple times while reading this story. It is a trip! I have now covered 3 Natsume Ando stories. I will continue to read more of what's available in English. I'm kind of obsessed. Thanks for watching! Make sure to subscribe to my channel, check out my Patreon, and follow me on Instagram. I post some super cute content. Lastly, troop on Hopelets, stay adorkable!